Okay, Philly. We're going to start off with a very special video from our friend, Billie Eilish.
There is so much at stake in this election. Our rights, our freedoms, and our future depends on all of us turning out to vote on or before November 8th. Please promise me that you will make a plan to vote. We have the power. Let's use our power. Keep moving forward. Me, you, all of us. We have to keep moving because we have so much to rebuild. And if we don't build the future, they will. So we have to keep moving, all of us, together. We grow our movement. We build on this moment. We build our power for our bodies, for our families, for our planet. Our future is now. Let's build power with our friends, our families, our communities. When we move together, when we vote together, we win. Because we're not stopping at November. If we want to renew what's broken in our neighborhoods, in our nation, we have to keep building power, progressive power. Welcome to the largest youth Get Out the Vote tour in America. With special guest, Bernie Sanders. Are you ready to vote, fight, win?
Okay, Philly, let me hear you. Put your hands together. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speakers for the evening. Please welcome at-large City Council members Helen Jim and Kendra Brooks.
All right, Philly. Are we fired up? Are we ready to win? All right, there is something special happening in Philadelphia. You can feel it from our sports teams to the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where workers won a fair contract for the first time. From Starbucks baristas winning a fair union, to people taking on some of the biggest industries here in the city of Philadelphia, we are proving one thing very clear. We are winning. We are coming for everything, and we are going to send that message on Tuesday. It is the people in this room who have helped put air conditioning in our public schools. It is the people in this room who have fought to reduce evictions by almost 70% in one of the highest evicting cities in the country. It's the people in this room who are taking on all the corporate exploiters who are holding us down on a $7.25 shameful minimum wage. And we're going to take this country back so we can deliver livable wages for everybody. And this is the room that protected health care. We're the largest city in the country without a public hospital. Bernie Sanders stood with us when we fought the shameful closure of Hahnemann Hospital. And now we want Medicare for all, and we're going to put a 51st vote in the U.S. Senate for it. And in a city where we mourn gun violence in our communities every single day, we watch as a sick and disgusting party weaponizes our grief, feeds off of the pain and the fear, pursues racial division and anti-blackness in communities of color. We're going to elect people who know that public safety comes when we invest not in the pockets of the NRA, but when we invest in people that make our communities safe. That is decent jobs, a living wage, good schools, housing, and health care, and common sense gun control that can protect the Second Amendment and protect a second grader. And it is over our dead bodies. I'll be damned if I let a January 6er and a pill-shilling huckster take away our right to clean air and clean water. In this city, it's not enough for that kind of politics to lose. We are going to wipe the slate clean. We are going to show what happens when the people rise up. And we lay our claim to housing, to safety, to good schools, and to the people that we love and we serve. And I want to thank Senator Sanders. Thank you, Working Families Party. Thank you, Move On, Next Gen America, Tinashe, and each and every one of you who has showed up tonight. We are ready to win. We are ready to deliver. And it's this city that's going to send the message to America. And now I am so honored to introduce the Working Families Party candidate, the first third-party candidate in Philadelphia history to capture an at-large city seat. She is my sister. She is my friend. She is my fellow warrior. And she is your Councilwoman, Kendra Brooks.
You know what? Yesterday, I was in a room like this, filled with people that were cheering on former president, current president, governors, all of this. And one thing that I remember, he said, "Don't boo." That was weak. Don't boo. Don't boo. So we have a big thing to do on Tuesday. November 8th, everything is on the line. I know we keep hearing it, but the significance of everything on the line. Think about that. And what are we going to do? But I have an ask even greater than that. I need you to make sure 5 other people that you know are going to the polls to do what? And how are you going to make that happen? I need you to pick up that phone, pull out those text messages, send out those tweets to everybody you know that's on the line or on the fence about what to do. Tell them, why are you voting? Ready to go. So I need for you guys to do that right now. Think about, right now, this is a practice. One person on your phone, in your phone right now, that may not go to the polls. And think about all the things my colleague just said. Think about all the passion and commitment that you had around getting out the vote. The work that you've been doing all weekend, I hope, and all the way till Tuesday. And send them a text right now and tell them why you need them to go to the polls on Tuesday. Send them a message right now and tell them that if you need a ride, I got you. If you need an Uber, I got you. That's how this is so significant. Because a lot of times people sleep on the fact that there's a election every 6 months. But right here in Philadelphia, we have the opportunity to show once again that Philly does what? What we do? And on Tuesday, November 8th, what we're going to do? Now, I also want to give a thank you and shouts out to my party, Working Families Party, Move On, Senator Sanders, and Make the Road for bringing this party together. And I know I'll come down and chill everybody out for a minute, but there are a lot of folks that are going to have y'all turned up and ready to party. But my message to you is what? 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 All right. See you guys later, and thank you so much.
All right, let's keep this party going. Let's make some noise for Make the Road Action Political Director Diana Robinson and for our future digital organizer, Lloyd Salison Dean.
Hello, Philadelphia. I am incredibly honored and humbled to share the stage with so many fighting for working people across our state. Our city councilors, Kendra Brooks and Helen Gim, and one of my personal heroes, and a man I sat beside at a pasta dinner when he was first running for Senate, and I was a nervous 11-year-old, Senator Bernie Sanders. Woo. My name is Lloyd Salison Dean. I am a digital organizer with For Our Future Pennsylvania. For Our Future is a progressive organizing hub that has reached out to hundreds and thousands of Pennsylvanian voters in the last few months on doors, on phone, via text, to remind them of the importance of this election. I'm here today doing the work I do because when I talk to people my age, our age, I know what the future looks like. It is diverse, it is compassionate, and it is prosperous. Because our generation doesn't worry about where you're from, what you look like, who you love, or how you identify. We know that everyone deserves a seat at the table. We believe in the right to unionize. When billionaires and billion-dollar corporations make more money, working people deserve their fair share too. We believe in a healthcare system that prioritizes health over profits. We spend twice as much as comparable countries, but have higher rates of preventable hospitalizations and preventable deaths. We believe in the right to control what happens to your own body. Period. Our generation is claiming our future, and it's why everything I just mentioned is under attack in this election. The other side is doing everything in their power to try and buy control over what we do with our bodies, who we love, our right to organize a union, our right to safety, even our right to use contraception. 195 Republican members of Congress voted against the Right to Contraception Act this year, in 2022. They want control, and it won't stop with restricting reproductive freedoms. That's why we need to rise up together and let them know with our voices and our vote that they cannot have it. Our future is now. Thank you. Diana Robinson.
Thank you, Lloyd. How are we doing tonight, Philly? All right. Are we going to go and vote? All right. I'm Diana Robinson. I'm the political director at Make the Road Action in Pennsylvania, where we organize Latino and immigrant communities. Woo, woo, yeah. I'm the daughter of immigrants who came to the U.S. in the 70s and 80s from the Dominican Republic and Providence, Colombia. My mom became a naturalized citizen in the 90s, and I remember as I was at her ceremony with my dad, my sister, as we watched, as she stood there in her green skirt suit with her French twist, looking bomb, and took that oath. And I know that's such an important part of my life, seeing my mom take that step. Immigrants like my parents, Latino people, refugees, people who don't speak English, and other communities of color have overcome many barriers to vote. We battle language access, misinformation, and systems that want to keep us quiet and disengaged. This is why Make the Road is dedicated to organizing immigrant and Latino communities in the language they speak to make sure our community knows where to vote, how to vote, and turns out to vote. Because our lives and our needs matter, and nobody's going to keep us quiet. You're not going to keep us quiet when our neighbors are struggling to pay rent and put food on the table, with jobs that don't pay enough and costs rising, while corporations and CEOs line their pockets with our hard-earned dollars. We need stable, family-sustaining, adequate pay for our work and affordable housing and health care. Right now, Democrats like John Fetterman and Josh Shapiro have our backs. They're going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and ensure we expand access to health insurance. Woo! Yeah, let's make some noise for that. MAGA Republicans oppose it all. These extremist Republicans want to eliminate all abortion rights and are pushing for more guns to flood our streets. They will make our communities and our democracy less safe. We can beat these extremist Republicans in November. We can put working families first. And to do that, we have to show up and vote. And it's why Make the Road Action has knocked on nearly 270,000 doors to turn out Latino, Black, and young voters. Because we know what is at stake, and we know we have the power to decide this election. We must elect John Fetterman to become our U.S. Senator and Josh Shapiro to become our governor. So I urge you to talk to your friends and family and let them know what is at stake on November 8th. And if the Republicans try to silence our votes and manipulate this election, I hope you'll join me in speaking truth to power, and I hope I'll see you out in the streets. Thank you.
Okay, Philly, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. Let's welcome Move On Rapid Response Campaign Director, Mana Karazi.
Good evening, Philly. I'm really grateful to be here with y'all because I know we are going to win on Tuesday. Woo! Y'all don't sound like you think we do. We know we are going to win on Tuesday. We are going to vote out anyone who tries to divide us, who preys on fear to sow hatred, and who wants to control our bodies. I'm Iranian American. My parents sought asylum in the U.S. when I was a toddler. And saving us from a government that wanted to strip my mother of her rights and persecute my Kurdish people. My family fled from fascism and tyranny that stoked hatred against women and the most marginalized among us. Sound familiar? I gotta acknowledge for a second the brave young women, the Gen Z Iranians, who are changing Iran right now, demanding their bodily autonomy and for the right to hope for a better future. Gen Zers around the world are reshaping our communities. They're daring to reimagine a world in which we all have a chance to not only survive but thrive. I know it feels sometimes hopeless for some of y'all as the generation that's coming of age with hatred and violence as the norm. But we're here to change the norms. This should not be normal. It is not okay to go to school every day being afraid for your life, worrying about your siblings in a nearby classroom. It is not okay for pundits and politicians to incite hatred and to put all of us in danger just to solicit votes. For politicians to put profits over people and then to pretend to care about democracy while stacking the courts to take away all of our rights. For Republicans who talk about American values but don't care about people's access to health care or to clean water, a roof over their heads, or to getting out of mountains of debts just for an education that boomers paid a fraction for. Look, I'm an older millennial. I know what it means to be deciding between student loans and home loans. Most of us still can't afford our own homes, and it's not because of our love for avocado toast. We are at a historic moment in time, in a historic city, Philadelphia. The city of brotherly love, right? But not just for our brothers, for our sisters, all our siblings and our cousins, where we insist on building on and challenging the legacy of the founding fathers by also including our mothers, our aunties, our uncles, all of our elders who came before us. All of us, all of the members of our communities, all of us who Republicans don't care about us, all of us who they want to block from voting, from accessing our power, who they want to punish for showing up in record numbers for the last election by passing voter suppression laws like in my home state, Georgia. But there is one thing that they all forget, and that's y'all. They want to keep you, all of us, feeling small. But remember, you are the very best of us. You are the product of our elders' hopes and dreams. And when you feel hopeless, know that is what the generations before you that made the greatest progress all felt. That's the feeling right before you make our country and the world a better place for all of us, not just the richest 1%. And remember, more than anything else, y'all are our hope. I cannot wait for your leadership that is on the horizon. No pressure. But until then, we will elect leaders who make space for us, who include us in their vision, like John Fetterman. And together, we will win on Tuesday, November 8th. Thank you, Philly!
All right, let's keep going with our friend, Move On campaign manager, Alexis Martinez.
Hello, Philadelphia. My name is Alexis Martinez, and I'm a young Mexican-American woman from the state of Florida, a state that is constantly under attack by MAGA Republicans. And I've seen firsthand the impact that this has had on my community, and I've seen the impact this has had on our nation for the last 6 years. But today, I have hope. We're all here today for one reason. We want to win on November 8th. We want Democrats to be elected up and down the ballot in Pennsylvania and across our nation. Why? Because our rights are under attack. And you all know that Republicans have failed us time and time again. It's no secret that they want to continue to strip away our rights. It's no secret that they want to ban abortion. And it's no secret that they don't believe in the climate crisis and that they don't want us to stay gay and live freely. But remember, Democrats are fighting for us. They're fighting for us by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, by combating the climate crisis and investing in clean energy, and by finally making billion-dollar corporations finally pay their fair share in taxes. We have a chance to fight back and fight for our future now. And we're going to do that on Tuesday by heading to the polls. But it's going to take more than just us in the room. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take our friends, our family, our neighbors. And every day at Move On, our members are working hard to win this election and to build a country where we all can thrive. Are y'all ready to join us? Yeah! You can get involved right now. Take out your phones and text Philly to 668-366. Text Philly to 668-366. Take out your phones. I'm watching. You know, as a young person, there are times where I fear for our country and for our planet. But I know that if we come together, we can elect progressive champions who will fight alongside us. And I know that together, we can build a country for all. So let's head to the polls and vote, fight, win.
All right, Philly, have you ever heard the expression, communication is key? Well, our next speaker has. Let's put our hands together for Vice President of Communications for Next Gen America, Antonio Arellano.
How's it going, Philly? I heard there is a young progressive movement brewing in Philly. Is that right? Well, I hope you're ready because my good friend and our special guest, Bernie Sanders, is in the building! You know, speaking before all of you today is really such an honor. My name is Antonio Arellano, and I am undocumented and unafraid. You see, I am part of a generation of fearless immigrants who refuse to hide or to be paralyzed by the intimidation and fear-mongering tactics of the far right. It's not going to happen. I was born in Guanajuato, Mexico, and my family is from Michoacán, a small little town with a population of 197. There is more people in this room today than where I come from. And back home, my community has been neglected, overlooked, mistreated, and that, compounded with the lack of healthcare access, the lack of economic opportunity, drove my family to make the life-changing decision to come to America in search of hope. When I arrived in the United States at just 3 years old, I quickly fell in love with this country. And I fell in love with its promise of equality and justice for all. But it wasn't long before I realized that that promise did not apply to me or to my family. My immigrant upbringing exposed me to the discrimination and racism communities of color have had to endure for far too long. And it sparked my lifelong passion to win immigrant communities the respect and the representation we deserve. You see, in recent years, we've all witnessed how the hateful rhetoric targeting immigrants can quickly turn violent. Extremist Republicans are doing everything that they can to take control because they are afraid of our collective progressive power. A powerful, multiracial, multilingual, multi-generational movement that is not going to turn its back on its most vulnerable. Together, undocumented immigrants and our citizen allies, we're going to create change on Tuesday. You see, for over a decade, I've been organizing in Black and brown communities, building grassroots power, and I can promise you that there are hundreds of thousands of dreamers just like me who are calling on their citizen allies right now to rise up and meet this moment. You know, I believe it's about damn time Republicans come to terms with the fact that there are over 11 million undocumented immigrants in America yearning to breathe free. You know, for far too long, the immigrant community has been treated like a political piñata by the Republicans, and I'm here to say enough. Enough! I've got a radical proposition for our friends on the right. Instead of attacking immigrants, how about we fix our broken immigration system and provide a pathway to citizenship for all of our neighbors? How about we embrace the diversity and stop shrinking away from the opportunity to enrich our communities with the cultural contributions that immigrant communities have to offer? Let's create an immigration system that does not dehumanize families. On Tuesday, let's make it clear to Republican extremists that we won't go back to their anti-immigrant agenda of family separation, of harassment, of abuse, of mass deportations. We're not going back. You see, this election is personal for people like me. I am currently temporarily protected under DACA. And it's important to remember that DACA was won through the relentless and tireless efforts of undocumented youth that organized to win that. We need to make sure that we recognize that we need a permanent solution for DACA beneficiaries. But Republicans are blocking legislation in Congress, and now the Trumpified courts are doing everything that they can to end the program. I just want you to know one thing. I apologize to no one for my immigrant background. And Republicans can try to pin the whole world on me, but I will never reject my culture, my heritage, or my people. See, now is the time for bold and progressive leadership, which is why I am organizing alongside Next Gen America to activate undocumented and citizen activists who are ready to take action, because together we can transform America. You see, my friends, the future has arrived, and we refuse to wait any longer to be recognized and respected. I believe that we will build a nation with no discrimination. I believe we can deliver for the essential workers that kept this country running during a global pandemic. I believe we can reject racism and xenophobia. I believe we will create a more just and representative America. But most importantly, I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. Let's be clear. If Republicans take control of Congress, the attacks on immigrants are only going to continue. Your vote can break that cycle. You have the power to defend those who can't. So this election, go vote for abortion rights. Go vote for climate and economic justice. Go vote for affordable health care. Go vote for marriage equality. And please go vote for comprehensive immigration reform. Our movement of proud, powerful, progressive, undocumented immigrants and citizen allies are building a better America. Our future is now, and in this moment, we must lead. Are you ready to lead? Are you ready to vote? Welcome to the future of progressive politics.
Okay, Philly, speaking of leadership, let's welcome Working Families Party Executive Director, Maurice Mitchell.
What's good, Philly? Let me try that again. I'm not sure if I'm in Philly. What's good, Philly? All right, I'm in Philly. Good night. Good evening. My name is Maurice Mitchell. I'm National Director of the Working Families Party. I'm so happy to be here with you. Now, I also want to acknowledge our mighty working families, Councilwoman Brooks. Also, Councilwoman Helen Gim in the building. I want to thank them both for doing the work of the people every single day here in Philly. Now, before I get any further, who here is a first-time voter? Raise your hand. This will be your first time. Keep those hands up. Everybody around them, give them a hand of applause for all of my first-time voters. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, for those of us that casted our ballots in 2020, by the way, that was a historic election, and we did something rarely done in American history, where we made an incumbent president a one-term president. That was historic. And what we did, we broke Donald Trump and the MAGA movement's hold on power. We broke it. But just like when you break a bottle, and a bottle breaks into little tiny fragments and scatters all across the floor, that MAGA movement, it broke, and we broke the hold on power, just like the water in a bottle can no longer be held when it's broken. But those fragments go into tiny little nooks and crannies, and that MAGA movement has gone into little tiny nooks and crannies of our country, into little hamlets and towns and counties, and sometimes in our homes, and sometimes in our families, and sometimes with our loved ones. So our work is not done, right? Our work is not done. So in 2022, we need to take that proverbial broom, that broom of our vote and our organizing, and we need to sweep the MAGA movement into the dustbin of history. Now, I want to be clear about something. This election is not about partisanship or Democrat versus Republican or the progressive conservative binary. It's about something much deeper, something much more consequential to everybody here. It's fundamentally about our freedoms. It's fundamentally about human rights. And there's no two sides. This is not a two-side debate. This is the people and human rights versus terror, authoritarianism versus fascism. That's what's on the ballot. That's absolutely what's on the ballot. Now, it's funny because our political opponents and the Republican Party that's been captured by a batshit crazy cult, we gotta tell the truth, right? That Republican Party claims to be the party of what? Freedom, liberty. But that's right, because there's only one set of political actors that are obsessed with the gender of our children, creepily obsessed with the gender of our children. There's only one set of political actors that are creepily obsessed with who we choose to love, who we choose to marry. There's only one set of political actors that are creepily, scarily obsessed with controlling the bodies of women and people who are planning pregnancies. There's only one. One. There's only one political movement that is banning books currently and trying to tell us how we can educate our children. Only one. So this is ultimately about freedom. Freedom is on the ballot. Human rights is on the ballot. And this is why between today and tomorrow, our job is not just to vote. Our job is to vote. Our job is to ensure that we tell everybody in our families that they need to vote, that we need to mobilize and organize with organizations like Move On and Next Gen and Working Families Party and many others, right? That is our obligation. Not our obligation to Democrats or this or that candidate, but our obligation to history, our obligations to ourselves, and our obligations to future generations. So I want you, in my final minute, my final seconds, I want you to think about, on that note of future generations, think about maybe a young person that you might know, maybe a little bit, there's some young people here, maybe even a little bit younger than you, or a friend that you might know, or a loved one that you might care so much about. I want you to really think about that person. And then I want you to think about what might happen in an America where we allow those fascists to take control of our government, and what the future might have in store for that person that you love with all of your being. Do you feel that? Do you feel that energy? Now, imagine that energy multiplied by millions and millions and millions. That is a movement that can transform minds, hearts, and ballots, and build a government and an America that works for the many and not the few. Let's go out and get it. Thank you so much. Good night.
All right, from West Philadelphia, born and raised, it's the star of Bel Air, Jabari Banks.
Philly, 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 boo, 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 boo. I love my city. What's up, you all? How you doing? Hey, make some noise if you registered to vote. Okay. That was about half of y'all. Yeah. I said make some noise if you registered to vote. Okay. Hey, man, I got to step away from the podium. Let's get real. Hey, what are we doing November 8th? Hold on one more time. What are we going to do on November 8th? That's what's up. It is a pleasure to be home. It's a pleasure to be in front of all of you beautiful faces. Hey, this is the most beautiful room I've been in all day. What I want to say is it is my honor to be able to talk to you all, to encourage you all to get out there and encourage your friends to vote. This is the most pivotal time in history, in my life at least. I'm 24 years old. But I feel like right now we have the decision to make. Who do we want to be as a nation, right? Who do we want to be as a nation? And right now is the time for change. Right now is the time for us to stand up for what we believe in. Right now is the time for us to put our foot down, to say, no, these are our rights. This is what we believe in. Thank you all so much. You've all had some amazing speakers already. Oh, like me? But there's also so many other dope people on the lineup tonight. Hey, how many of you are excited to see Tinashe? Oh, yeah? That's what's up. Who's excited to see Bernie? Yeah? Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. You guys have an amazing lineup. I'm so grateful to be here. I love you all. Thank you.
Okay, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. It's Move On Executive Director, Rana Epting.
What up, Philly? I stand here bringing with me love and solidarity from millions. I'm serious. Millions and millions of people all across this country, Move On members that are in rooms just like this, in real life and virtually, doing all we can to make sure we move this country forward and defeat MAGA Republicans this Tuesday. And we've got 2 days, folks. 2 days. 2 days before voters decide the fate of this country. 2 days till we, all of us, decide the fate of this country. And 2 days to talk to everyone we can to make sure they have a plan to vote and they cast their ballot this Tuesday. 2 days. 2 days to move this country forward, not backwards. Do we want to go backwards? No. And I hate to break it to you. We sure as hell defeated Trump in 2020, but we didn't defeat Trumpism. We have thousands of Trump Republicans running up and down the ticket all throughout the country. They have launched a culture war on American society. They are hell-bent on rolling the clock back on our rights and our freedoms, and we're not going to stand for it. No, we're not. They want to pass a national abortion ban. They're embracing QAnon conspiracy theories. Can you believe it? QAnon conspiracy theories? Nasty. They're even making fun and making light of threats and acts of political violence. They have said they intend to continue to strip us of our voting rights, all in the name of raw power. Do we want these folks controlling our democracy? Hell no! We have made so much progress over the course of generations in this country, expanding the franchise of democracy to the people, not just white, wealthy landowners, to the people. And we have so much more to do, folks. Just over these last 2 years, 2 years ago, we defeated Donald Trump, and we've been crawling out of this ditch that he put us in, and we elected President Biden, and what did we say to him? We said, cancel student debt, and he delivered. That's progress. And we have more work to do. And we elected a Democratic House and Senate, and we said, take climate change seriously and do something about it. And they passed the largest climate legislation bill in the history of the United States. We did that. We made that happen. And we have more work to do. After the global pandemic hit U.S. shores, the economic crisis was real. The inequities were exposed, and Congress went to work. They passed the American Rescue Plan and nearly cut child poverty in half. We did that. We made that happen. And we have more. We have more work to do. We need to build on the steps that President Biden has taken around marijuana decriminalization and fully decriminalize it. We have to make this economy work for everyone, not just Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. We've got to codify our rights to an abortion. We've got to raise the minimum wage. Every worker deserves a right to a voice on the job, and we've got to protect and safeguard our right to vote. We are not done. So we can't give up now. We cannot give up now. And one essential ingredient we need to continue to make this progress is we need people elected to office that will listen to the voters, that believe in the sanctity of elections, that believe in democracy. And heck, we got 2/3 of Republicans on the ballot right now are election deniers. They've said if the election doesn't go their way, they're not going to concede. That's not democracy. Do we want these folks in charge of our elections? No. But I've got good news. Who wants good news? I like good news. Okay. First piece of good news. Don't laugh. But the first piece of good news is all of us in this room have a superpower. You know what it is? We have relationships and trust with friends, family members, coworkers, classmates, neighbors. And that relationship and trust is a potent superpower that you can leverage to ensure more people turn out and vote this Tuesday. It is scientifically proven in a world of massive disinformation that the most trusted person to help others get out to vote is you. So when we ask you to take out your phones and we ask you to call your friends and family members and make sure that at least 3 others are turning out to vote that wouldn't otherwise do it, we're serious. Imagine if all of us in this room tonight, it's got to be what, 2,000 of us here? Imagine if every single one of us in this room tonight made sure that 3 other folks that wouldn't otherwise vote turn out to vote. We'd triple our numbers. We'd triple our numbers. And elections are won on the margins. This room could be the make or break for Pennsylvania. So you take your superpower. Do not leave it on the field. Use it. You've got 2 days, okay? Use it. The second piece of good news. There's more of us than them. Young voters are turning out in record numbers never seen before. And one thing I can tell you, if there's more of us than them, when we show up, we win. What happens when we show up? What happens when we show up? What happens when we show up? That's right, so go out there and get everyone to vote this Tuesday. Thank you.
Okay, Philadelphia, let's put our hands together for the President and Executive Director of Next Gen America, Cristina Sinsun Ramirez.
Is everybody ready to hear Bernie in a little bit? Well, my name is Cristina Sinsun Ramirez, and I'm the president of Next Gen America, the country's largest youth vote organization in the country that last election helped mobilize 1 in 9 young voters, leading to the largest youth voter turnout in American history. And we know the transformative power that young voters can have as the largest, the most progressive, and the most diverse generation in American history. And that despite what MAGA Republicans say, what's best about our country is our diversity. And I know this too because I live this. My mom is the oldest of 9 kids from a poor farm-working family in Michoacan, Mexico. And my dad's a white American hippie that met her there while he was living on a commune. And my white grandpa even used to say that my siblings and I were purebred Irish Mexican Americans. And growing up, I knew there was nothing purebred about my background. But I got to see and learn something that a lot of other people don't. That it doesn't matter where you come from, the color of your skin, who you love, or how you pray. That at the end of the day, we all just want the same things. We want to be healthy, we want to be safe, we want to be respected for who we are. We want to go to good schools and we want to have good jobs, and then time off from those jobs to be with those that we love and do what we love. And when Bernie Sanders ran for president in 2016, he taught our entire country that asking for those basic things wasn't asking for too much. That we were only asking for what every single person and family in the richest country in the world can and should have. And while some Republicans in this country seem to only believe in the power of the ultra-wealthy and the well-connected, we believe in the power of us. And we know it isn't asking too much to not only judge our economy by how well big corporations are doing, but to judge our economy by how well ordinary people are doing. And we know it isn't asking too much that every single American be able to go to the doctor when they are sick and have the highest quality health care when they need it. And we sure as hell know it's not asking too much to leave it up to women instead of politicians to decide when they are ready to make a family. And we know it isn't too much to ask to transition our economy off of dirty fossil fuels that are literally killing us. And that's why young people are turning out in record numbers, because we know that our country is at a fork in the road. One that veers towards fascism and authoritarian rule, or one where the people rule. So when they were debating these bills, Mind you, a legislature that looks nothing like Texas, because while you may picture just people like my white grandpa in Texas, good cowboys, our state is actually majority young, brown, and black. While they were debating these bills, we snuck in 36 young organizers and activists into the Texas Capitol with backpacks filled with 270,000 different colored rose petals. And we climbed up to the Texas Rotunda, and we all took our spots and waited for the signal of when we were supposed to drop our roses, because of course we hadn't asked permission to do so. And the signal was a beautiful 19-year-old Latina singer named Tori Valitierra, dressed in a hot pink power suit with roses all in her hair. She came into the middle of the Texas Rotunda, and then she looked straight up at us and started to sing as loudly and as powerfully as she could, Amazing Grace. And then we dropped all of those roses all around her. And it was powerful. It was beautiful. And that day, we sent a message to those legislators that we had the numbers to ultimately win, and that we would. And along the way, we would fight back against their darkness with our light, against their ugliness with our beauty. And if you try and cut a rose bush down, it will grow back. So let's send a message to all of these phony politicians that are trying to take our country backwards, that if they want to cling to the past, they can have it. But the future? Nah, that's going to belong to all of us.
I see you. Thank you again so much. That was amazing. But now I want to get into our main speaker for the evening. I'm very honored, very excited to be sharing a stage with this icon, this legend. Everyone, please make some noise and a warm welcome for Senator Bernie Sanders! There he is.
Thank you, Philadelphia. I thought I would start off by singing a few songs. I don't think so. Love you too. This Sunday, 2 days from now, no, today is Sunday, Tuesday, 2 days from now is going to be a very important day in American history. And our job together is to make sure that it is a great day, not a disaster. Let's elect John Fetterman and Summer Lee. In Washington, we need John, we need Summer. And in the next few days, let us do everything that we can to drag out our friends and our families and our co-workers, make sure they vote. Let's win this thing. Now, I know that midterm elections are not all that sexy. You know, you don't have somebody running for president, and you don't have big debates and all that stuff. But I want to tell you that which party controls the U.S. House, U.S. Senate, who your governor is of enormous consequence to every person in this room, every person in Pennsylvania. And let me tell you what is at stake in this campaign. A number of months ago, I know all of you are aware of, the Supreme Court of the United States, a very right-wing extremist Supreme Court, came up with an abominable decision. And they said that women in America are too dumb to be able to control their own bodies. We disagree. And we're going to tell the Supreme Court and everybody else that that very personal decision is a decision of women, not of government. And by the way, I am quite confident that most of you know how babies are made. Men, this is your issue as well. Stand with the women. This campaign is about whether your generation will be able to raise your kids and have grandchildren who will live in a state, a country, a planet that is healthy and is habitable. The last 8 years have been the hottest years ever recorded. It ain't going to get better unless we make it better. So if you don't want to grow up in a world with drought and floods, extreme weather disturbances, increased disease, poor people all over the world being forced to leave their homes because they don't have any clean water or they can't grow their crops, if you believe we have got to save the planet for future generations, let us have the courage to take on the greed of the fossil fuel industry and transform our energy system. And this campaign, it's not only about women's rights, it's not only about saving the planet, as important as all of that is. And this is something, to be very honest with you, I never imagined in my life that I would be saying as a United States Senator. And that is, this election is about saving the foundations of American democracy. Donald Trump and his allies are doing everything they can to perpetuate the big lie that he won this election. They're doing everything they can to make it harder for people of color, young people, people with disabilities to vote. We believe in democracy. We believe we should make it easier for people to vote, not harder. And we believe that when somebody in a democracy loses an election, they should have the decency and the courage to acknowledge that. But what I want to tell you is that it's not just Trump and his allies who are trying to undermine American democracy. I want to tell you what you know, is that you are living right now under a corrupt political system which allows billionaires to buy elections. All over this country. I was in Los Angeles last week, a very fine woman running for mayor. Some billionaire is spending $100 million to win that seat. This morning I was with Summer Lee in Pittsburgh. And you got a super PAC spending $1 million just this week trying to defeat her. In New York, you got billionaires spending, but all over this country, what billionaires are saying, hey, we own the country, we may as well own the political system, and I'm going to elect you and I'm going to defeat you. That ain't democracy, that's oligarchy. And I want to say a word about something that is not talked about too much in our country, and that is the nature of our economy. You are living not only under a corrupt political system, you are living in a rigged economy in which right now you don't see this much on TV, I got to tell you, most elected officials don't talk about it. But right now, you are living in a nation which has more income and wealth inequality than at any time in the history of our country. While 60% of Americans, including many of you, are living paycheck to paycheck. You all know what paycheck to paycheck is? All right, I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck. And that means you go out, you work hard, but you got to pay rent, you got to pay health insurance, you got to pay child care, you got to put gas into the car. And at the end of the week, you could be worse off than when you started. Right now in America, the richest country in the history of the world, 85 million Americans are either uninsured or underinsured in terms of health care. In America today, we got 600,000 people who are homeless, and you got 18 million households who are spending 50% of their limited incomes on housing. In America today, nationally, I don't know what it is in Philadelphia, but nationally, if you got a kid in childcare, cost you $15,000 a year. How do you afford that if you're making $50,000? Half of our elderly people living on less than $25,000 a year, and they're forced to pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We got hundreds of thousands of bright young kids who want to go to college but can't afford to go to college because of the cost and their fear of coming out with debt. And you got 45 million people today in the richest country on earth who leave school with student debt. So that is where we are with an economy for working families. But the people on top, and I know we don't talk about it enough. You don't see it on TV too much because the TV are owned by the billionaire class. But what you got right now are the very, very wealthiest people becoming phenomenally richer, while working people are seeing a decline in their standard of living. Let me give you one example of how grotesque this situation is. Everybody here knows that we have gone through, and in fact are going through, this horrible, horrible pandemic, which has taken over 1 million lives in our country. Now, during the pandemic, the early stages of the pandemic, working people had to go to work. They had to go to work because they didn't have an option. If you don't go to work, you don't get a paycheck. If you don't get a paycheck, you don't feed your family. You had to go to work. And people went to work, and tens of thousands of them died. We have lost well over 5,000 nurses who worked in hospitals, kept us alive. They died. We've lost workers in meatpacking plants, public transportation, firemen, cops, people all over this country who kept the economy going, and tens of thousands died. But during that very same period, while people were losing their jobs and dying, the billionaire class saw a $2 trillion increase in their wealth. So I want you, and these guys on top, they have so much money, they literally don't know what to do with it. They buy their private jets. They buy their own islands in the Caribbean. They have mansions all over the world. In fact, some of them have so much money they want to get out of Earth and go to Mars in a goddamn spaceship. And our job right now, at a time when 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, our job right now, and you have got to help us do it. All right? You know, I come from a working class family. I suspect many of you do. Nothing to be ashamed about. Be proud of who you are. Your parents helped build this country. And our people have a right to live with security and decency and have a decent standard of living. Now, right now, as all of you know, we are experiencing inflation, about 8.2%. And my Republican colleagues, they think this is a good campaign issue because people go, they fill up, the gas, they get gas for the car and it's expensive. They go to the grocery store, it's expensive. And they're right, it is expensive. It's hurting a lot of people. But my Republican colleagues are lying about the causes of inflation. Let me tell you why. For a start, they claim that inflation is caused by Biden or Bernie Sanders or whoever. Ain't the case. Right now, inflation in the United Kingdom is over 10%, Germany 11.6%, Ireland 9.6%, European Union 11%. In other words, inflation is a global problem, not just an American problem. And what are the causes of inflation? I think you know. The causes of inflation are the pandemic. We'll get to that in a second. Be patient. Are A, the breakdown in global supply chains because of the pandemic. Takes longer to get products into factories and into companies. That's number one. Number two, this horrific war in Ukraine has driven up prices around the world. But the most important reason that we are experiencing 8.2% inflation, in fact, more than half of that is attributable directly to corporate greed. So what does it mean? It means that if you go to fill up your car with gas and you're unhappy, what is it, about $4 a gallon around here? $4.15, all right. You're paying $4.15 and you're not happy about that. You should know that the largest 5 oil companies made $59 billion in profits during the second quarter of this year alone. When you fill up your gas tank, understand ExxonMobil's profits are up 280%. Chevron's profits are up 277%. And when you think about elderly people going into a grocery store, taking a hard look at the price for a pound of hamburger or whatever, understand that the entire food industry enjoying record-breaking profits. Pharmaceutical industry, record-breaking profits. And take a deep breath, and think about what this means from a moral perspective. The world is in trouble. We all know that. You got a pandemic, you got climate change, you got a war in Ukraine. You might think that if there was a sense of decency, an iota of decency on the part of these CEOs, they might look out and say, hey, these are really tough times, people are hurting. What can we do to keep prices down? What they have done is exactly the opposite. What they have done is said, hey, in the midst of all of this confusion, you got a war, you got a pandemic, who's going to know the difference? Let's raise prices as high as we can. And that is why, if I have anything to say about it, and I do, we are going to pass a windfall profits tax telling these people to stop ripping off the American people. Now, if you listen closely to what Republicans are saying, they're saying the cause of inflation is government spending. We've been spending a lot of money on the Biden, Sanders, Democrats. Let me say a word on that. What they're really talking about, and they don't quite have the guts to describe it, they are talking about the American Rescue Plan passed in March of 2021. Now, happens I am the chairman of the U.S. Senate Budget Committee. And I helped to write that bill, which was signed by the president in March of 21. And this is what I want you all to be thinking about, because as Americans, all of us seem to have short memories. Forget things pretty easy. I want you to go back in your mind to March 21, about a year and a half ago. And if you can remember that time, we were experiencing an explosion of this pandemic all over America. 3,000 Americans were dying every single day, and 100 times that number were getting sick. We had, do you recall, doctors and nurses in hospitals who didn't even have the personal protective equipment they needed to treat patients safely. We had hospitals all across this country which were being overwhelmed because more and more people were coming in with COVID. They didn't even know how to treat these people. And these hospitals were on the verge of collapse. We were experiencing the worst public health disaster in America since the Spanish flu of the 1917. Worst public health disaster in 100+ years. And on top of the pandemic and the fact that people were dying every day, and people getting sick every day, and doctors and nurses were dying, hospitals overflowing. On top of all that, we had the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression of the 1930s. People couldn't go to work. Small businesses were going bankrupt. Millions and millions and millions of workers were losing their jobs. In fact, some 24 million people at that time were either unemployed, underemployed, or had given up looking for work. People didn't want to go to work, afraid of dying. Right? That is where we were, in one of the most dangerous moments in the modern history of the United States of America. So let me be clear to my Republican colleagues and to all of you. I make no apologies for helping to pass the American Rescue Plan. And I want you all to remember what that plan did. At the time, at a moment when people were scared to death, were worried about being evicted from their apartments, we had hunger at a level that we had not seen in decades. In my community, in Burlington, Vermont, people were lining up in cars in order to get emergency food shipments delivered by the National Guard. The country was in difficult shape. So I make no apologies for helping at that moment to provide $1,400 for every man, woman, and child in this country. At that moment, for a family of four struggling, that $5,600 made a hell of a lot of difference. I make no apologies when millions of workers were losing their jobs. We extended and expanded unemployment benefits. When moms and dads were having a difficult time raising their kids, putting food on the table for their kids, getting their kids to the doctor, I make no apologies that we passed a $300 tax credit for every parent, working class parent in this country. When hospitals needed help in order to avoid collapse, we put billions of dollars into hospitals. We put money into universities and colleges in order to keep them going. In a democratic, civilized society, when people are hurting, when they are afraid, when people are dying, the function of government is to stand with the people, do the right thing, and that is what we did. And I should tell you that as part of that effort, we did not have one Republican vote, not one. Now let me contrast what we did, what the president did, what those of us in the Senate did. What we did is provide $1.9 trillion directly to the working class and the middle class of this country. Now, Republicans have a slightly different idea. If they gain control over the Senate and the House, and that is why Pennsylvania is so important. This is their brilliant idea. From Mitch McConnell, the leader, Republican leader in the Senate, on down. You know Mitch. All right. This is what they want to do. And you think I am kidding, I am not. And this is not political rhetoric, this is reality. They want to repeal the estate tax. What the hell is the estate tax? Who knows what that is? What the estate tax is a tax that applies only to the top 1/10 of 1%. It's when a multi-billionaire dies, the question is what kind of taxes his or her family will then pay. If we repeal the estate tax completely, it will apply only to the top 1/10 of 1%. Nobody in this room, I suspect, will come near getting any benefit from that, okay? But Elon Musk's family, and Elon Musk's family will get an $80 billion tax break. And other multi-billionaire families will get massive tax breaks. All told, if they get away with doing that, and that is what they want to do, it will result in an increase in the national debt of $1.75 trillion. So you want a contrast between what we are trying to do and what they're trying to do? We put $1.9 trillion directly into the pockets of working people, small business, hospitals, schools. We helped ordinary Americans. They want to put almost as much money into the pockets of the families of the top 1/10 of 1%. Don't let them do that. We got to beat them this Tuesday. But that's not all. That's not all they want to do. What they want to do then is, having added to the national debt $1.75 trillion, they got another brilliant idea. All over Philadelphia and Pennsylvania and Vermont, you got elderly people struggling right now, trying to figure out how they can heat their homes in the winter, buy the prescription drugs they need, take care of their health care needs. And these geniuses in the Republican Party think now is a great time to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. What this campaign is about is not just defeating right-wing Republican extremism on Tuesday. It's even more than that. It is bringing forth, maintaining, and fighting for a new vision of what our country can be. Now, I have been called every day on some TV ad, someplace or other, an extremist. I'm not an extremist, but I want to tell you what extremism is. Extremism is three people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Extremism is the rich getting richer and 600,000 Americans being homeless. That's extreme. Extremism is when young people do the right thing, get a college degree, and have to spend 20 years paying off their student debt. That's extremism. Now, I don't have to tell you that we are a very divided nation. No ifs, buts, and maybes about that. Divided on women's rights, gay rights, racial justice issues, so forth and so on. But I will tell you that on economic issues, it turns out that the vast majority of the American people, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, or independents, kind of look at the world in a similar way. And I want to give you an indication of where the American people are, where we are, and where we got to go. First thought, people look out at the economy, and they're seeing people all over America making 10, 12, 14 bucks an hour. Everybody understands you can't make it on those types of wages. Everybody understands that if you work 40 hours a week, you should not live in poverty. And the vast majority of Americans understand that we have got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. We are, if you can believe it, the only major country on earth not to have paid family and medical leave. Do you all know that? Do you know that right now some woman is giving birth someplace and she is going to be forced to go back to work next week because she cannot have any income coming in so that she could spend time with her baby? That is barbaric. In countries all over the world, women and the fathers are getting 5 months, 6 months off, full paid family leave. And we got nothing. The American people know that's wrong. We have got to fight to make sure that when your kids get sick, you can take care of them without getting fired. When you have a baby, you can bond with your baby. Paid family and medical leave is what we need. Now, I want to tell you something else, and this is very exciting. And what we have seen in the last several years is a significant increase in the number of working families, whether they are blue-collar, white-collar, service industry, who are now organizing and forming unions. Whether it's Starbucks, Amazon, wherever it may be, workers are catching on. They're catching on that one person cannot get a fair shake. You can't go to your boss and say, this is what I need. You need to be organized. You need a contract for decent wages, decent benefits, decent working conditions. We need to make it easier for workers to join unions, not harder. We will not be able to grow the middle class unless we grow the union movement. And I want to tell you something else in terms of where we have got to go. We remain the only major industrialized country not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right. And yet, in our dysfunctional, broken, and cruel healthcare system, we have 60,000 people who die every year because they don't get to a doctor on time. We are spending now twice as much per person on healthcare as the people of any other country, and yet we have tens of millions uninsured or underinsured. Our job together is to fight to make certain that we pass legislation which says clearly, healthcare is a human right. Doesn't matter whether you're rich, whether you're poor, you're middle class. You can walk into that doctor's office. We're going to have to remember that the function of a rational, humane healthcare system is healthcare for all, not to make tens of billions in profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies. And what the American people also understand is that we are living in a highly competitive global economy. And what that means is we need the best educated workforce in the world. Now, 50 years ago, if you went to high school and you graduated, you got your high school degree, the odds were pretty good that you can go out and get a decent job, make it into the middle class. But those days are long behind us. We have seen an explosion in technology. God knows what artificial intelligence and robotics will be doing to our economy. We need a better educated, better trained workforce. And that is why we must make public colleges and universities tuition free. And if my Republican colleagues could propose a $1.75 trillion reduction in taxes for the top wealthiest people in this country, You know what we could do? We could cancel all student debt in America. And if we're going to create a just and fair society, we have got to recognize that the so-called war on drugs has failed. Too many people have been arrested. Too many people have gone to jail. Too many people have had criminal records because they were caught possessing marijuana. That is why we have got to legalize marijuana in every state in this country. Look, those are some of the issues, and obviously it goes without saying that implicit in everything I'm talking about, we must create a nation in which we end all forms of bigotry, all racism, all sexism, all homophobia, all xenophobia. Because in many ways, not only what this campaign is about, what the future of America is about, are two different concepts. The people of our country are angry. And you know what? They have a right to be angry. They have a right to be angry because today the average American worker is earning less in income-adjusted wages than he or she did 50 years ago. You got that? People are right to be angry that they can't afford health care, that they can't send their kids to college, that they can't take a vacation, they can't take the family out to eat. People have a right to be angry. The question is, who do you take your anger out on? And what the Republicans want us to do is to take our anger out on each other. They want to divide us up based on the color of our skin, or where we were born, or our sexual orientation, or our religion. Now, I was not, I got to tell you, a great math student when I was in college, but I did learn this. 99% is a hell of a lot larger number than 1%. So I'm asking all of you to do two things. Number one, we got 2 days left in this election. Pennsylvania is one of 3 or 4 pivotal states in this country. Future of America rests on what happens here, Pennsylvania, Nevada, New Hampshire, Georgia, a few other states. And this election will be close. So I'm asking you now, in the next few days, to do everything you can to vote, get your friends to vote, help elect John Fetterman, help elect Summer Lee, help elect Josh Shapiro, your next governor. And do everything you can to defeat Republican extremism. But I'm asking you something else, more difficult, and kind of a lifelong request. And that is, don't give up on this country. Too many people have fought and died to take us to where we are today. They have defended democracy. They have fought for civil rights. They fought for women's rights. They fought for gay rights. We've had great people doing great things throughout our history, and there's a lot we should not be proud of, but there's a lot that we should be proud of. What I am begging of you is don't think that it's all over on Election Day, no matter what happens. Your job is to have a vision. We are the wealthiest country in the history of the world. All over this world, people in country after country, people walk into the doctor's office. They don't have to take out their wallet, their credit card. All over the world, you have countries in which young people can get a higher education without having to go deeply into debt. People have paid family and medical leave. We can do those things, and we can do more. We can lead the world with your help in bringing countries together to combat climate change and create a planet that is healthy and habitable. We can do these things if we have the guts to stand up to corporate greed, have the guts to stand up to a billionaire class that wants it all. So what I am begging of you, let's do everything we can in the next 2 days, and from then on, let's go out, let's work together, let's transform this country, let's make it what we know it can be. Thank you all very much.